Cole Hartley had always believed that the quiet of the open land could tell a story of its own. Every morning, when he stepped out of the small bunkhouse on the ranch where he worked, the world around him seemed to breathe in a way that made him feel both grounded and free. The soft air of Arizona carried the scent of dust, warm grass, and distant pine. It was a wide country, full of long horizons and slow-moving clouds that stretched across the sky like drifting memories. Cole often told himself that as long as he had this land beneath his boots and an endless sky above his hat, he needed nothing more. He was a cowboy by trade, but not the kind who bragged or boasted. Cole moved with a calm, careful nature. He did not raise his voice unless he had reason, and even then, it was with gentleness. The other ranch hands sometimes teased him for being too soft, but he simply smiled. He believed that kindness made a man stronger, not weaker. His days were simple. He rode the range, checking cattle, repaired fences, and sometimes spent long hours alone with only his horse, Dusty, for company. Dusty seemed to understand Cole better than most people did. Whenever Cole talked softly to him, Dusty would flick an ear back, as if listening with interest. It comforted Cole, especially on days when he felt quieter than usual. One early morning, just as the sun was rising, spreading soft orange and pink colors across the sky, Cole saddled Dusty and headed toward the high ridge that overlooked the San Carlos Apache lands. The ranch bordered the edge of those lands, and though Cole never crossed without purpose, he often rode near the boundary. The peaceful silence of the place drew him like a gentle hand guiding him forward. Cole respected the Apache people deeply. He had heard stories about their courage and their strong roots in the land. Some ranch hands spoke carelessly about them, but Cole never joined in. He understood that people tended to fear what they did not know. Cole, however, had always been curious rather than fearful. He admired the Apache way of reading nature, of understanding the world in ways others never bothered to learn. But he kept that admiration quiet. He knew the world around him did not always welcome such open-mindedness. As he rode along the ridge, Cole noticed something unusual. Down below, near a small meadow bordered by tall grass and mesquite trees, he saw a figure bent over near the river. From that distance, he could not see clearly, but the person moved with graceful purpose. Cole slowed his horse, watching with quiet curiosity. The morning sun lit the scene in a soft glow, making everything look almost dreamlike. The figure wore traditional Apache clothing, simple but beautiful, with patterns that blended naturally with the colors of the land. Even from afar, Cole sensed a certain strength in the person's movements. After a moment, he realized it was a young woman. She was gathering plants near the riverbank, selecting them with careful hands, studying each leaf before placing it gently into a small woven basket beside her. Cole knew some Apache families came to this area to gather herbs for healing. He did not want to disturb her, so he kept his horse quiet and observed from a respectful distance. Yet, he found himself unable to look away. There was something about the woman, something calm, peaceful, and almost glowing in the morning light. Her long dark hair fell in a smooth line down her back, moving gently with the breeze. She carried herself with confidence, but without pride. It was a rare combination, and Cole felt unexpectedly drawn to it. He did not know her name, nor her story, but in that brief moment, watching her move with such intention, something in him shifted. It was not love, not yet, but it was something that rested deep in his chest, like a quiet beginning. The woman, Ayana, did not know she was being watched. She was focused on her task, collecting herbs her grandmother had taught her about. To her, the plants were more than plants, they were gifts from the land, each with its own purpose, each deserving respect. She hummed softly as she worked, a song passed down through generations, a melody that only the land truly understood. Cole continued watching, but not with boldness. Instead, he felt a sense of calm. It was rare for him to feel so connected to another human simply through observation, and he wondered what kind of person she must be. He imagined her as someone who moved gently through life but held a quiet fire in her spirit. Someone who saw meaning where others saw nothing. Dusty shifted beneath him, and Cole realized he had been still too long. He did not want to startle her or seem like someone spying. He gently turned his horse away, planning to give her space. Still, even as he rode back toward the ranch, the image of her remained in his mind. Throughout the day, Cole found his thoughts drifting again and again to the young woman by the river. He tried to focus on his tasks, tightening fence posts, checking on the cattle, riding the perimeter of the ranch, but his mind kept returning to her. Her calm presence, her deliberate movements, the soft strength she carried even from afar, it all lingered inside him. Cole wondered if he might see her again someday. It was not a hope he spoke aloud, but one he held quietly. He knew that life had a way of weaving paths together when least expected. The next morning, Cole rose early once again. The sun had just begun to peek over the horizon, and the cool dawn air brushed across his face. Something inside him nudged him toward the ridge again, though he told himself he was only checking the range, but deep down, he knew he was hoping just a little to see her again. When he reached the high ridge, he paused and scanned the land below. The river shimmered gently in the early light. The meadow lay still and calm, and the tall grasses swayed softly. But the spot where Ayanna had been was empty. Cole felt a strange mix of relief and disappointment. Relief, because he did not want to appear as though he was searching for her. Disappointment, because he had hoped for even a glimpse. He stayed there a moment longer, breathing in the soft morning air, letting the quiet fill him. The land had always been his place of peace, but now, it held a new sense of possibility, a quiet curiosity he could not ignore. Cole did not know that Ayanna had also noticed him the day before. She had seen a distant figure on horseback, framed against the sky on the ridge. At first, she worried he might be watching too closely, but when she observed his stillness, his respectful distance, and the gentleness in the way he guided his horse, she felt no fear. Instead, she felt a brief wave of wonder. She had seen many cowboys before, but none who carried such steady calm in their posture. Though she returned home that evening without mentioning it to anyone, the sight of the quiet cowboy lingered in her thoughts as well. She wondered who he was, what kind of heart he carried, and whether their paths might cross again. Neither knew it yet, but life had already begun setting the stage for their meeting. A moment that would test courage, awaken new feelings, and change the rhythm of both their worlds forever. For now, though, both lived their separate mornings beneath the same rising sun, unaware of how deeply their futures would soon intertwine. The next days passed quietly, but something in the air felt different for both Cole and Ayanna. Their thoughts often returned to the unexpected moment when their paths almost crossed. Though they did not speak to each other, the memory of that peaceful morning near the river had settled somewhere inside their hearts, like a soft echo waiting to be heard again. Cole tried to focus on his work, but nature seemed to guide him in a direction he did not fully understand. One warm afternoon, the ranch owner asked him to check the far western edge of the land, near the same river where Cole had seen Ayanna. Cole agreed without hesitation. He knew it was work, but he also knew his heart carried a quiet hope, a hope that he might glimpse her once more. The sun was high, but the day felt pleasant. A soft breeze moved through the tall grass, and each blade shimmered with the light of the sky. Cole rode Dusty at an easy pace, enjoying the peaceful rhythm of the land. He hummed a tune he had learned long ago, a gentle melody that seemed to match the calm of the afternoon. The river was bright and clear when he approached it. The water flowed smoothly, with only a few ripples shining in the light. Birds rested on low branches, dipping their beaks into the water every now and then. Everything looked safe and calm, but Cole knew nature could change its mood quickly. Dusty suddenly slowed down, as if sensing something unusual. Cole gently patted his neck. "What did you see, boy?" he asked softly. Dusty gave a quiet snort and shifted his ears forward. Cole followed his gaze and saw movement near the bend of the river. He leaned forward slightly, narrowing his eyes to see better. His heart gave a small jump when he realized who it was. Ayanna. She was standing near the water again, but this time she seemed to be carefully studying the river. Her basket sat beside her, once again filled with herbs and plants. But something was different. Ayanna wasn't gathering anything now, she was staring at the water with concern. Cole watched her for a moment, unsure whether to approach or keep his distance. He did not want to startle her. Still, something felt off. The river seemed a little fuller than usual. The waterline had crept up the bank more than he expected. The air carried an odd heaviness, like the sky was holding its breath. Ayanna carefully stepped down the riverbank, her focus locked on a cluster of plants growing near the edge. The soil beneath her looked soft and wet, the kind that could shift without warning. Cole felt a prickle of worry rise in his chest. Dusty moved slightly, and Cole gently guided him closer. Not too close, but near enough where he could call out if needed. Ayanna bent down to reach for one of the plants near a slick patch of mud. She leaned forward carefully, stretching her hand out. At that moment, Cole noticed how the soil beneath her shifted just a little bit more. It was almost invisible, but his trained eyes caught it instantly. The river had been rising and softening the ground. If she stepped a little farther, the earth might not hold her weight. Cole felt warmth flood his chest, not fear, but concern. He didn't want anything to happen to her. Even though they had never spoken, he felt a strange sense of responsibility toward her, as though something about their first quiet meeting had connected their paths. Before he could think too long, the river made a sound he didn't expect. A low, heavy rush. The kind that meant more water was coming from upstream. Cole looked up and saw a small wave of stirred-up water heading down the river, rolling faster than the usual gentle flow. It wasn't dangerous, but it was strong enough to change the riverbank and shake the ground near it. "Ayanna!" he called out, surprising himself by how naturally her name came to his lips, even though he had not known it until that very moment. It was as if his heart had known it before he did. She turned quickly, startled to hear a voice. The sudden movement made her lose her balance just slightly. Her foot sank deeper into the soft mud. Cole swung off his horse in one smooth motion, landing on the ground and rushing toward her. His steps were quick, but careful. He didn't run, because running might cause vibrations that loosened the weak soil even more. "It's not steady there," he said gently as he approached. "The ground is too soft." Ayanna's eyes widened slightly, but she kept her composure. She tried to step back, but her foot was stuck deeper than she realized. She shifted her weight, and the bank made a soft crackling sound beneath her. Cole's heart tightened. He stopped just a few steps away, close enough to help but far enough not to apply extra pressure to the ground. "Don't move too fast," he said calmly. "I'm right here." Ayanna studied him for a moment. In his eyes, she saw no harm, only reassurance. His presence was steady, like the earth on a calm day. She breathed out slowly and extended her hand toward him. Cole reached out, their fingertips brushing first, then their hands meeting gently, as though both were afraid to break the moment's fragile trust. But when Cole held her hand, his grip was steady, firm enough to support her, gentle enough not to frighten her. He guided her slowly, inch by inch, until she found her footing again on more solid ground. When she finally stepped up beside him, her breath was a little shaken, but her eyes were clear. Cole released her hand, only when he was sure she was safe. "I didn't mean to surprise you," Cole said softly. "I just saw the river rising, and the ground didn't look steady." Ayanna looked at him with gratitude, her expression peaceful but thoughtful. She brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear and nodded. "Thank you," she said quietly, her voice warm and calm. It was the first time Cole heard her speak, and something about the softness of her tone settled into his heart. He smiled, removing his hat politely. "I'm Cole." "Ayanna," she replied. The river continued to flow beside them, but now it sounded gentle again, almost as if it were settling after a brief restlessness. The sun warmed the land, and a quiet stillness filled the space around them. Ayanna glanced at her basket near the edge of the water, where she had placed it earlier. Cole noticed it too. "I can get it for you," he offered. She nodded gratefully, and Cole stepped carefully toward it. The ground was firmer near the top, so he had no trouble reaching the basket. He brought it back to her, holding it out with both hands in a polite gesture. Ayana accepted it with a small smile. Her eyes briefly met his, and in them, he saw kindness and a sense of strength that impressed him deeply. For a moment, neither spoke. The silence between them was not awkward. It felt meaningful, like both were trying to understand the unexpected connection forming between them. Cole finally broke the quiet. "Do you often gather plants here?" he asked gently, hoping not to sound intrusive. Ayana looked at the river thoughtfully. "Yes. The plants here are good for healing. My grandmother taught me how to find the ones that help the body and the heart." Cole nodded with appreciation. "That's a special skill. Not many people take the time to understand the land that way." Ayana studied him with interest. She noticed how he stood calm, respectful, steady. She sensed he was not a man who rushed through life. He moved with purpose, but also with care. "You see the land well too," she said softly. Most people would not notice the river changing. Cole looked a little shy at the compliment. "I just spend a lot of time out here. The land talks to you if you pay attention." Ayana smiled gently, recognizing his sincerity. A small breeze brushed past them, carrying the gentle scent of sage and warm earth. The moment felt peaceful, almost like the land itself approved of their meeting. Cole finally stepped back, not wanting to overstay his presence. "I'm glad you're safe," he said quietly. Ayana nodded, her eyes warm. "I am safe because of you." Cole felt his heart shift again at her words, soft, sincere, and filled with meaning far deeper than she intended. "I should head back before the sun gets too low," he said softly. Ayana held her basket close. "May your path stay calm," she said in a gentle blessing. Cole placed his hat back on his head and gave her a small, respectful nod. "And yours too." He walked back to Dusty, mounted his horse, and looked back once more. Ayana stood by the river, calm and strong, watching him with thoughtful eyes. Their exchange had been brief, but something important had begun, something neither fully understood yet. A quiet bond had formed, shaped not by grand moments, but by trust, kindness, and the simple act of looking out for another human being. As Cole rode away, the warm wind brushed against him, carrying with it the soft memory of her voice. And behind him, Ayana remained near the river, feeling that her day had changed in ways she could not yet explain. They did not know it yet, but the bond they had begun in that gentle moment would soon grow deeper than either imagined. After their gentle meeting by the river, both Cole and Ayana carried a sense of warmth inside them that didn't fade. Even as the days continued with their usual routines, the land still stretched wide under the Arizona sky. The river still flowed softly, and the world around them kept its usual rhythm, but something inside both of them had quietly shifted. It was as if a small light had been lit in a room that had been dark before, and now neither could forget the glow. Cole returned to the ranch that evening with a peaceful heaviness in his chest, a heaviness made not of sadness but of deep thought. He moved about his tasks as he always did, loosening Dusty's saddle, brushing him down, and giving him cool water to drink. Yet his mind kept drifting back to Ayana's calm voice and the quiet strength in her eyes. When he finally sat down on the old wooden bench outside the bunkhouse, the sky was turning a shade of deep purple. Stars appeared one by one, like tiny lanterns waking up for the night. Cole watched the sky slowly fill with light, and in that peaceful silence, he found himself smiling softly, almost without realizing it. He wasn't sure why his heart felt so full. He only knew that meeting Ayana had touched him in a way nothing else had in a long time. Meanwhile, in her village, Ayana prepared the herbs she had gathered earlier. She separated them carefully, humming a quiet tune her grandmother had taught her. But her hands paused every so often, as her thoughts drifted back to the gentle cowboy who had reached out his hand to her that afternoon. She remembered the steadiness of his voice, the calmness of his eyes, the way he stood just close enough to help her, but not too close to make her uncomfortable. Ayana's grandmother, a wise elder named Nahi, watched her with soft eyes. She noticed her granddaughter's thoughtful expression and the way her gaze sometimes lifted from the herbs to nothing in particular. You are thinking of something, Nahi said gently. Ayana looked up with a small smile. Of something and someone, she admitted softly. Nahi nodded knowingly but did not press her. She believed the heart should reveal its thoughts in its own time. Instead, she simply said, sometimes the land brings people together for a reason. Ayana thought about that long after she finished her work. She wondered what reason the land might have for guiding her toward Cole. A man from a different world. A different life. But when she remembered the calm way he spoke to her, she felt no fear, only curiosity, and a quiet, growing warmth. The next morning, Cole found himself rising earlier than usual. The sky was still a soft gray when he saddled Dusty and began his ride. He told himself he was simply checking the range again, making sure the land was safe and the cattle were where they belonged. But his heart knew the truth. He was hoping to see Ayana again. When he reached the ridge, the river below shimmered with the first golden light of the morning. He stopped his horse and looked around, half expecting to see her gathering herbs again. But the meadow was empty, touched only by the breeze. Still, Cole didn't feel disappointed. Instead, he felt calm. Just thinking of her brought a sense of peace. He guided Dusty down the slope, deciding to ride along the river's edge, even if he didn't see her. The memory of their gentle meeting made the land feel different, warmer, more inviting. Ayana, too, felt drawn to the river that morning. With her basket in hand, she walked softly along a familiar path. The day was bright, and the leaves on the trees seemed to glow in the sunlight. She moved with grace, stepping over stones and sliding gently between tall grasses. She didn't expect to see Cole, but something inside her nudged her forward with a quiet hope. The river bend came into view, and just as she stepped out from behind a group of tall bushes, she saw Dusty drinking from the water. A moment later, Cole walked into sight, leading his horse gently along the shore. He looked up, and their eyes met. Both paused, but not out of surprise. The moment felt natural, almost like they had arrived at the same place by quiet agreement. Cole smiled first, the soft kind of smile that carried warmth without pressure. Good morning, Ayana. Her heart lifted slightly at the sound of her name spoken in his steady voice. Good morning, Cole, she replied. For a moment, they simply stood facing each other. The gentle sounds of the river filling the space between them. It felt peaceful, like the land itself was welcoming their presence together. Cole gestured lightly toward her basket. Gathering herbs again? Yes, she said with a small nod. Some of the plants are best in the early light. They hold more strength that way. Cole listened with genuine interest. You know so much about the land. About things most people overlook. Ayana looked at him curiously. You notice the land, too. Maybe in a different way, but still with respect. Cole chuckled softly. Well, Dusty does half the work for me. He sees things before I do sometimes. Ayana smiled, her eyes softening. She stepped closer to the river and dipped her hand gently into the cool water. Cole stayed where he was, giving her space. But he watched her with quiet admiration. After a moment, she stood again and looked toward him. Would you walk with me? She asked softly. Cole felt a warm surprise rise in his chest. I'd be glad to. They began walking along the edge of the river, Dusty trailing calmly behind them. Ayana pointed out different plants, ones used for soothing the body, ones used for clearing the mind, ones used in celebrations or ceremonies. Cole listened intently, making small comments now and then, showing how much he appreciated her knowledge. He shared his own stories too, about growing up on the ranch, about the quiet mornings he loved, about the way he felt most at peace when surrounded by open land. Ayana listened with interest, sometimes asking questions, sometimes simply enjoying the sound of his steady voice. The more they talked, the more natural it felt. Their steps fell into an easy rhythm, their words flowing like the river beside them. They discovered they shared many small things, both liked the quiet of early mornings, both found comfort in nature, both felt a sense of responsibility toward the land. There were moments when their hands brushed lightly as they walked, sending a soft warmth through both of them. Neither pulled away. Instead, they let the simple closeness grow gently, like a small plant taking root. At one point, they stopped beneath a tall willow tree where the shade was cool and the air smelled faintly of wildflowers. Cole looked up through the branches, watching the sunlight scatter in gentle patterns. "This place feels peaceful," he said softly. "It is one of my favorite places," Ayana replied. "Sometimes I come here when I need to clear my thoughts." Cole nodded slowly. "I can see why." Ayana turned toward him, her eyes steady. "Cole, when you helped me the other day, I felt something I cannot explain. Not fear. Something else. Something warm." Cole's heart tightened gently at her words. "I felt it too," he admitted quietly. "I didn't know how to describe it. But it's there." Ayana lowered her gaze for a moment, gathering her thoughts. "Our worlds are different," she said softly. "But when we talk, it feels easy." "It does," Cole agreed. "More than I expected." The breeze moved through the willow leaves, making them dance softly above their heads. Ayana met his eyes again, and the warmth in her gaze made Cole's breath slow. "Maybe," she said gently. "The land brought us together for a reason." Cole smiled, a deep and sincere smile that came straight from his heart. "Maybe it did." They stood there in the shade of the willow tree, saying nothing more for a few moments. Words were no longer necessary. The land around them, the river's soft voice, the breeze carrying the scent of flowers, all of it seemed to wrap gently around them, welcoming the quiet bond that had begun to grow. When they finally walked back toward the riverbank, their steps were a little closer, their hearts a little fuller, and their silence filled with meaning. They parted softly, with promises in their eyes even if not yet spoken aloud. The bond that had begun near the river had deepened, quietly but unmistakably, and neither of them could deny that something beautiful was beginning to take shape between them, something gentle, strong, and guided by the very land they both loved. Days passed gently, and every one of them seemed to bring Cole and Ayana a little closer, as if the land itself kept opening new paths for them to walk together. Their meetings near the river became a natural part of their days. Sometimes they talked for long moments. Sometimes they simply sat quietly, listening to the soft sounds of nature around them. And sometimes, their silence said more than any spoken words could. But as their bond grew stronger, the world around them began to notice something they had not yet spoken aloud. People on both sides, the ranch and Ayana's village, began to see small hints, and not everyone understood what was forming between them. On the ranch, Cole tried to keep his routine as normal as possible. He did his morning chores, checked the cattle, repaired fences, and stayed busy from sunrise to sunset. But his calm happiness did not go unnoticed. The other ranch hands watched him with curious eyes. They saw the quiet smile that often touched his face when he thought no one was looking. They noticed when he rode toward the western border, more often than he used to. They whispered small guesses among themselves, never really knowing the truth but sensing that something was different. One afternoon, as Cole leaned against the fence repairing a loose board, one of the older ranch hands, Raymond, walked up beside him. "You've been riding near the river a lot these days," Raymond said with a half-smile. "Find something interesting out there?" Cole didn't look up right away. He tightened the nail and took a slow breath. "Just checking the land," he replied calmly. Raymond raised an eyebrow. "Uh-huh. And the land just so happens to be prettier in that direction than anywhere else?" Cole simply continued working, choosing calm silence over argument. Finally, Raymond chuckled softly. "Well, whatever you're looking at out there, it must be something good. I ain't seen you this peaceful in a long time." Cole didn't deny it. He only said, "Some things are worth riding for." Raymond nodded and walked away, leaving Cole to finish the fence. The older man wasn't unfriendly, just observant. But his comment reminded Cole that his life was no longer exactly private. People noticed change, and change always carried weight. Meanwhile, things were shifting in Ayana's world too. In her village, Ayana continued her daily tasks, helping elders, collecting herbs, preparing drinks for healing, weaving small baskets, and learning from her grandmother. But even her quiet joy did not escape attention. Her cousin, Tala, noticed the light in her eyes when Ayana returned from the river. She noticed the way Ayana sometimes paused in her work, lost in thought with a soft smile on her lips. One evening, Tala finally stepped closer and asked, "You met someone, didn't you?" Ayana felt warmth rise to her cheeks. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she continued arranging a group of herbs on a cloth. But Tala's eyes sparkled with curiosity. "It's the cowboy, isn't it?" Tala asked gently. Ayana looked up in surprise. "You saw him?" Tala shook her head. "No. But you talk less and smile more. And you walk toward the river as if something special is waiting for you there." She paused, then added softly, "Ayana, I'm not judging. I just want to understand." Ayana set down her herbs and looked out across the village, where children were playing and elders were sharing quiet stories. After a moment, she said softly, "He is kind, calm. He listens when I speak, and he speaks with respect. I feel peace when I am near him." Tala listened with wide, thoughtful eyes. Then she nodded slowly. Peace is a good beginning, but news and curiosity spread quickly in small communities. Some questioned her connection with Cole not because they knew him, but because he came from a different world. They wondered if a friendship between an Apache woman and a cowboy could ever be simple. Some felt cautious, uncertain, and unsure. The two worlds did not dislike one another, but they did not understand each other easily either. Misunderstanding often caused people to fear what they did not know. Ayana sensed this tension quietly. She respected her people deeply, and she did not want to cause worry. One evening, she shared her thoughts with her grandmother. "Some do not approve," Ayana said softly as she prepared tea. "They think I am walking towards something I do not understand." Nahi listened calmly, her aged fingers weaving a small basket with steady grace. "Do you understand what you are feeling?" her grandmother asked gently. Ayana nodded. "I understand that I feel safe near him. I feel calm. I feel seen." Nahi smiled softly. "Then walk gently, child. When something pure comes to your life, you do not need to rush or hide. You simply need to let it grow at its own pace." Ayana breathed out slowly, comforted by her grandmother's wisdom. But even with gentle encouragement, the uncertainty from others rested in her heart like a quiet shadow. The same shadow touched Cole in his world. One evening, the ranch owner, Mr. Graham, approached Cole as he finished storing feed. "I heard you've been spending time near the Apache lands," Mr. Graham said, his voice calm but curious. Cole stood straight. "Yes, sir. Just getting to know the land better." Mr. Graham studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Just make sure you stay respectful. They're good people. But misunderstandings happen easily. Don't give anyone reason to worry." "I won't," Cole said sincerely. Mr. Graham nodded and walked away, leaving Cole to think. The ranch owner wasn't warning him out of anger, he was doing it out of concern. And Cole respected that. But he also knew his bond with Ayana was not something he could simply step away from. It had grown into something real, gentle, and meaningful. The questions from both worlds did not stop Cole and Ayana from meeting, but they did bring quieter worries into their hearts. They walked carefully now, not because their feelings were uncertain, but because they valued the peace around them and wanted to avoid misunderstandings. One afternoon, as the sun warmed the riverbank, they met under the willow tree again. Cole noticed a soft sadness in Ayana's eyes. "Something's on your mind," he said gently. Ayana touched a leaf from the willow branch, watching it sway in her hand. "Some are unsure about us spending time together," she admitted. "Not out of anger. Just uncertainty." Cole nodded slowly. "I've been hearing the same." Ayana looked at him with calm honesty. "I do not want to cause worry for my people. They have always stood by me." "I understand," Cole said softly. "And I don't want to cause trouble for you, or for the ranch." For a moment, silence rested between them. But it wasn't a painful silence, it was thoughtful, full of care. Ayana stepped a little closer, her voice gentle. Cole, I do not wish to stop seeing you. Our time together, it feels honest. It feels right. Under, Cole's heart warmed. I feel the same, he said with quiet certainty. I'm not turning away from this, not unless you ask me to. Ayana shook her head immediately. I am not asking that. Cole let out a breath of relief. Then we'll move slowly, he said softly, respectfully, with open hearts. And maybe, in time, people will see what we see. Ayana smiled small but filled with hope. Yes, in time. They walked along the river, letting the gentle sound of the water ease their thoughts. Their hands brushed again, and this time, Ayana let her fingers remain near his. Cole did the same. Their closeness felt natural, even with the world questioning it. As they continued walking, Cole said quietly, sometimes the hardest paths lead to the most meaningful places. Ayana looked at him with soft eyes. And sometimes the heart knows the way, even when the world does not. They shared a calm smile, standing in the soft glow of the afternoon. Yes, there were questions. Yes, there was uncertainty. Yes, the world around them whispered with curiosity and caution, but their bond remained gentle, honest, and growing strong enough to withstand the quiet pressure around them. Their hearts continued moving toward each other, slowly, steadily, like two rivers that had begun as separate streams, but were finding their way into the same peaceful current. The days after Cole and Ayana's quiet promise moved forward like gentle footsteps, soft and steady. Time passed with a calm rhythm, as if the land itself understood the importance of giving their connection space to grow at its own pace. Nothing between them was rushed. Every meeting felt natural, every conversation meaningful, and every shared silence warm. Cole continued his work on the ranch with his usual steady hands and quiet strength. Yet anyone who truly looked at him could see that something inside him had changed. The calmness in his eyes had deepened, carrying a new softness, one born from a growing affection he no longer tried to hide from himself. He didn't speak openly about Ayana with others, but his peaceful smile whenever he thought of her said more than words ever could. Ayana also carried her feelings quietly, like a gentle flame she protected with care. She continued her daily tasks in the village, helping elders, preparing herbs, weaving baskets, and learning new teachings from her grandmother. But her heart felt different now. She felt lighter, warmer, and more hopeful each time she walked toward the river. She no longer doubted the bond she had with Cole. Instead, she treasured it like a gift given by the land itself. But even as their hearts grew closer, the quiet questions from the world around them remained. People from both sides watched with cautious curiosity. Some grew more accepting with time. Others continued to wonder whether two people from such different paths could truly walk forward together. Cole and Ayana both knew they could not ignore these feelings. They wanted their bond to grow honestly, respectfully, and with the trust of the people they loved. And so, without forcing anything, they allowed time to do its gentle work. One warm morning, as the sun painted the sky with soft gold, Cole rode toward the river with Dusty walking peacefully beneath him. The air felt cool and welcoming. Birds sang lightly from the trees. The world seemed to hum with quiet happiness, as if sensing an important day. When Cole reached the willow tree, the place that had become their meeting spot, he saw Ayana waiting for him. She stood with her basket beside her, her long hair moving gently with the breeze. When he approached, she offered him a soft smile, one that warmed him from the inside out. You look peaceful today, Cole said as he climbed down from his horse. Ayana's eyes shone. I feel peaceful today. She paused and added, I think you do too. He nodded with a gentle laugh. Maybe the land decided to be kind to both of us. They sat under the willow tree, their usual spot, where the shade danced above them and the river's quiet song filled the air. For a moment, neither spoke. They simply enjoyed the calm. After a while, Ayana looked up at him, her expression thoughtful. Cole, she began softly. There is something I have been thinking about. He turned toward her with full attention. I'm listening. Ayana folded her hands gently in her lap. Our worlds. They are not easy to bring together, but I have learned something. Her voice was calm, steady. When a bond is honest, it can find a way to grow even between different cultures. But only if people can see our intentions. Cole nodded slowly. I've been thinking the same. Ayana smiled gently. Then perhaps it is time for us to let our families see what we see. Oh, Cole felt a warm flutter in his chest. You mean introduce ourselves to each other's people? Ayana nodded. Not to change anything too fast. Only to show them that our bond is built on kindness and understanding, not confusion. Cole smiled, deeply moved. Ayana, I want that too. And so, with careful hearts, they began taking small steps. The next week, Cole walked with Ayana to her village. He came respectfully, not with loud confidence, but with quiet humility. He greeted her people with gentle eyes and polite words. Some watched him with curiosity, others with uncertainty, but many saw the sincerity in his presence. Ayana's grandmother welcomed him warmly, offering him a small, woven bracelet as a sign of goodwill. Cole accepted it with deep gratitude, tying it carefully around his wrist. He spent time talking with the elders who were open to speaking with him. He walked through the village slowly, noticing the deep respect and closeness among the people. He admired how they lived with the land, not against it. And when he left, he felt even more strongly that Ayana's world was full of beauty not only in the land, but in the hearts of the people. A few days later, Ayana visited the ranch for the first time. Cole walked beside her, keeping a respectful distance so she wouldn't feel overwhelmed. Dusty walked quietly behind them, as if sensing the importance of the moment. Some ranch hands watched with interest, but when they saw the calm way Cole walked beside her, their expressions softened. Mr. Graham greeted Ayana politely, offering her a cool drink and thanking her for visiting. Ayana noticed how neatly the ranch was kept, how the hands worked together, and how Cole treated everyone with steady kindness. She felt welcomed not loudly, but sincerely. These small gestures from both sides began to soften the doubts others held. People realized that Cole and Ayana's bond was not built on sudden emotion or fantasy. It was built on respect, patience, shared silence, shared curiosity, and the gentle way they supported one another. Weeks turned into months, and the two worlds slowly grew comfortable with the idea of Cole and Ayana walking a shared path. The whispers faded. The questions softened. Acceptance settled in like a quiet blessing. One evening, Cole stood on the ridge overlooking the land that had brought so much change into his life. The sky was turning shades of pink and lavender as the sun dipped low. Ayana walked up beside him, her steps quiet but full of warmth. This place was where I first saw you, Cole said softly. From up here, everything felt peaceful. I didn't know then how much my life was about to change. Ayana smiled gently. I remember that day too. I felt like the land was whispering something new. I didn't understand it, but I felt it. Cole took a slow breath, looking at the horizon. Ayana, I want to walk forward with you. Not just near the river. Not just in quiet moments. I want to share my life with you. In whatever way you choose. Ayana's eyes softened deeply. And I want the same. She stepped closer, her voice warm and full of truth. I feel safe with you. I feel seen. And I feel that the land brought us together for a purpose that goes beyond simple chance. They stood together on the ridge, the sky glowing softly behind them, their hands finding each other naturally. There was no rush, no pressure, just two hearts choosing to walk the same path. In the months that followed, Cole moved closer to Ayana's village, finding work helping both communities understand each other better. He became a quiet bridge between two worlds, using his calm nature to bring people together. Ayana stood beside him, teaching him about her culture while learning more about his. Together, they built a peaceful life, one filled with shared mornings by the river, shared laughter beneath the willow tree, shared work helping others, and a shared promise that grew stronger with every passing day. Their story became one not of two worlds clashing, but of two hearts finding harmony. And not because they fought the world, but because they walked with patience, respect, and gentle courage. Cole had rescued Ayanna once, on a day when the river shifted beneath her feet, and she, in her own quiet way, rescued him too, bringing light to his life, grounding his spirit, and giving him a love deeper than anything he had ever known. Forever began not with grand gestures, but with a simple moment by the river, and two hearts that chose to grow together. With honesty, peace, and endless care,